The dominant photography that I've been doing the last 6 years is photographing cowboys. The way that started, I'd like to tell you I'm this real smart guy that plans all these things out, but that's not how it works with me. It started out with trying to photograph Montana. I lived in California, and California is slowly, let me change that word, rapidly going to hell. So California used to come, I've been coming to Montana for, many Christmas, 25 years. Photographic trips, fishing trips, just name it. And what I found, took me a few years to figure this out. It took me a few trips up to Yellowstone National Park up there. Montana is a great place to live. It's a great place to drive down the interstate and look at the mountain ranges and stuff. It's beautiful, but it doesn't photograph well. Yosemite Park photographs really well. Montana doesn't. So I was getting kind of frustrated with my photography, and one day I asked this lady if I could photograph her. Interesting looking lady. Looks like, has a bit of a Scandinavian look, kind of like Helga, Andrew Wyeth. Anyway, a Helga looking lady with little hippie glasses on, older than Andrew Wyeth's Helga. Hard working, really one of those kind of ladies that exists kind of at the edge of things. They have to work their head off. They're trying to maintain a life, but they're mowing lawns or cleaning schools or whatever, just working all the time. And the photograph turned out pretty good, so I thought I'd try another portrait. And I photographed a few people in Livingston, interesting people here. The people here are like, if you're familiar with Avedon's book In the American West, just interesting people. And so I went by, maybe a year went by, and I'm photographing people, and one day, boom, the light bulb comes on, and it dawns on me that I am in Montana. I should photograph a cowboy. It took me 6 months to find my first cowboy that go on being photographed. But that was 6 years ago, and that's all I've been photographing since then is cowboys. The cowboys are so iconic, and they're so interesting in their style and their big curved cowboy hats. And I say it that way because it's such good design. We're just talking two-dimensional design in a photograph. That big swooping curve of a cowboy hat is so elegant in there. So anyway, the cowboys themselves make these compelling photographs. And now, 6 years later, that series of photographs is within a month or two of being an art photography book. It's already designed. We're working on the cover now. We already have a printer. We're putting it to bed. This is going to be a really nice art book. Almost to the day when the photography book was, from the photography point of view, my side of the picture, put to bed. In other words, turned over to a designer. Indians entered my life. I have so far maybe six significant photographs of 2 of Crow people, maybe 5, 3 of Chippewa Cree. I now find that I have access. I actually have invitation acceptance in a couple Indian tribes in Montana. And I'm beginning to think they may even be, as a photographic subject, more powerful, more compelling than cowboys. I want to create art. I want to create singular pieces that stand by themselves and speak for themselves. I look back and try to figure out how in the hell did I get here? To be a little more intelligent about that, I teach workshops. I think in teaching a workshop, it behooves me to understand why I do what I do, and it goes like this. When I was 10 years old, my mother, for Christmas, gave me a brownie box camera. I have to tell you just a little tiny bit about my life. This is a photo lesson though, also. My life at the time, we lived in South LA, and at the time I was going to a school that was dangerous. A few very close friends of mine were killed. The key word here is that my life, for the most part, was chaos. Just chaos in the worst sense of the word. As a 10-year-old or 11-year-old or whatever I was then, I was scared shitless most of the time. So anyway, we got all through unwrapping presents and stuff, and I wandered outside with my camera. And so I'm looking around through the viewfinder, and my dad had a 38 Chevy Coupe. If you are familiar with those, they have a horizontal grille. They have separated fenders that kind of swoop up, nice, gorgeous curve. And then they have teardrop headlights. And so I'm kind of walking up towards that thing, and I was sort of looking through the viewfinder, and damn, I get up closer and I start thinking, that's kind of pretty. And I'm looking at the teardrop headlight, nice swoopy curve, the swoopy curve of the fender. And then in the background of this were the horizontal bars of the grille. And I'm going like this, and I'm looking at it, and I'm not thinking photographically. I'm just thinking, that's kind of cool. And I start organizing it. Big key word. I start organizing it, and pretty soon I think, man, click. That's almost 70 years ago. And I still remember that. And now, here's what happened. My life back then was largely chaotic. And yet, I could take this camera. Now, I wasn't saying this to myself at the time. I'm just sort of doing it. I'm taking this camera, and I can actually select something beautiful amidst this chaos, isolate it, organize it, and capture it. Right there is where the seed, how should I say that, the seed for my photography was planted. Nevertheless, the effect on that 10-year-old kid was so strong that I'm looking back now, and if you want to know the dominant element in my life, it's photography. There's a period of time in there, 3, 4, 5 years, when a child's mind is receptive, open, and things can get in there during that period of time that will have a lifelong effect. And that's what happened to me. And now I'm doing the same thing. I would like to think I'm a little more intelligent about how I do it. And so my photography now, there is very conscious two-dimensional design going on. There's very conscious range of tonalities. I'm immediately thinking, hey, I'm going to try a kind of lighting that actually comes from behind that I've been thinking about trying for months. Photographs of Chippewa, Cree, Crow people are so important to me right now that I'm not yet at a place to where I think that I can maybe risk blowing a shot by being kind of wowed with my lighting or whatever is going on. But John, I photographed John enough times that I could. So I did. So when I'm talking about planning out your lighting, planning out all the wrinkles, planning out the two-dimensional design and everything, I got to do that yesterday. I got to just kind of hang it out, and I have enough really good photographs of John that I could risk it. And I did. And now what I have in mind is that the first, it'll probably be a Chippewa Cree person. It'll probably be a man. And I'm thinking of one of the guys over there. He's a doctor, actually. Traditional Indian, long hair, long braids, a very Indian appearance. And if I can talk him into being photographed in a war bonnet, I think I'm going to try close up, this dramatic lighting. I think it's not a risk. Now I know it can work. Hey John, how's it going?
Pretty good.
Good to see you. Came down out of the mountains.
Yeah, I did.
My favorite person to photograph is John Hyland. He works a ranch by himself, 89 years old. Works a ranch by himself that he's lived on his whole life. He was born there. He is such a character. He is such a cool guy. He is so interesting. He's an anachronism. He's a dinosaur. He's something out of the 30s or 40s. I met John about 6 years ago now and photographed him. And then for some reason that I don't recall, about 6 months later I photographed him again. And about 6 months later I photographed him again. And for the last 6 years, about every 3 or 6 months, I photograph him again for one reason or another. And over that time, I think a good part of the reason for that is that we become friends. And so when John comes down out of the mountains, which is about once every week or two, usually he'll stop in and talk for about 2 hours. And I listen and think about photographs. Because of that, maybe he's growing a beard, or maybe, who knows, maybe he was just working on a car and his fingernails are cracked and dirty and he's got grease in his wrinkles and anyway, and I'll take him in the back and photograph him. I'm in a gallery in Bozeman, the Sundog. Nice gallery, big gallery. Okay, so Bruce and I are talking about the show, and I told him, you know what I've been thinking about for a long time is a John show. And do it this way. Hey, let's say I have 17. Let's take the best of the 17, and let's say I have 10. Let's say I can come up with 10 really strong John Hyland images. Okay, so now let's talk about a John show. But on the reception, on the evening of the reception, let's have John there playing the accordion. And Bruce really liked the idea. So here's what we're going to do. We've talked about this for a while. And John came in yesterday and he still wants to do this. So towards the end of summer, probably the last art walk in Bozeman, my cowboy book should be done. I'm going to have a FedEx, a case or two of books over here. So in this show, what we're going to do is probably, I'm going to guess, have 20 or maybe 25, 20 of my photographs over there. But the front of the gallery, the whole front of the gallery is going to be John photographs. And the book will be there, and these are cowboy photographs. John's a cowboy. And John will be there playing the accordion and talking. He'll talk your arm off. And that's the show. Think about it. Think about the show as art. And it takes the show, it's no longer just an art show or a reception or even the artist being there, talking with people or whatever. But it's the person in the art also being there and entertaining in a way that most people don't ever get to experience. Old-fashioned accordion music, old-fashioned guy, beard down to here, mountain man. Anyway, it becomes, if this were the 60s or 70s, I would call it a happening. It moves out of the area of an art show into a happening. I'm sure there's some term that would describe this, which is more sophisticated. But anyway, there's the John show. You asked me about my photography, that's my photography. Let me go past that. That's my life. That's what I think about all night long and most of the day.